Hey, welcome back, everyone. For those that just wrapped up the intro, which included the preface to the book of the month and my fourth book read, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. I applaud you for continuing the journey, and we are going to dive in today to chapter 1. Quick note for those that are seeing me for the first time. What's up? My name is Nick Kleitch. I'm the creator of the Life with Nick YouTube channel and the host of the Life with Nick podcast. To get a better understanding of me and to make best use of both of our times, I'd really encourage you to go to my page to watch my introduction video to know who I'm all about. I'm only doing that in respect to the people that do know what this video entails. So if you go to @LifeWithNick podcast on the YouTube search bar, you'll find me, find the intro video, see if I am for you or not. And I appreciate that so much, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Out of respect for those that are reading along and care about the book series, I am excited to dive into chapter 1. In chapter intro, we got hit with some really kind of complex and dense information that I had promised we would unpack here in the following chapters, and we will do that today, which is exciting. So if that was overwhelming for you, no worries. Let's take our time. I'll try to do my best to break it down, and we're going to get into some of the good stuff. So for chapter 1, we are going to be looking at that self-image concept and the key to a better life, as the author states. So just to really dive into things here, whether we realize it or not, each of us carries with us a mental blueprint or picture of ourselves. Okay, so we're starting off at a very clear note. We all have this and we all walk around with it. This self-image is our own conception of the sort of person I am. And I like how he describes this because we can think of real life examples of the sort of people we are. Me, for example, I am somebody that is active. I am someone that enjoys baseball. I am someone that enjoys sports in general. I love to read. I love to hang out with my friends. I am creative. I am funny. I am some of these things. I'm intentionally saying I am because I associate with that being the sort of person I am. And so I encourage you to kind of think maybe, who are the sort of person you are? Have an idea of that, and that'll again constitute as the mental blueprint that we carry around with ourselves. This is a dense overall topic, so just kind of as we're scratching the surface here, stay with me. But it has been built up from our own beliefs about ourselves and our environment. Most of these beliefs have been actually formed subconsciously from our past experiences in life, both good and bad, and the way other people have reacted to us throughout the duration of our lives. So as we break into this, what is being proposed is that all of your life until today, you have been the sort of person that you are, and how that interacts with the world gives you feedback from the good and from the bad. All of that data is then stored in us, in our conscious and subconscious, to constitute who we think that we are. The good news is, if we like who we are, we can continue to build on that. If we don't like who we are and there's areas of improvement, we can change. And that's why we're reading this book, is how to go from here, point A, to change into point B. From these, we've mentally constructed a self, okay? A self of who we are. Once an idea or a belief about ourselves gets into this mental framework, it becomes true as far as we are personally concerned. We do not question its validity, but proceed to act upon it as if it were true. So that can be good, again, if you feel confident in who you are and your self-image and your mental blueprint. For those that don't, though, just know that on the areas that you disprove of yourself or have imposter syndrome or think negatively in certain areas, that isn't actually true to reality. And I say that because you have maybe done things to gain the affirmation that you are either good or you're not. However, that's just your perceived reality. And I know this is, again, very deep, but what I'm really alluding to is Everything that has happened is in the past, right? However, we can make changes through this book, through our self-image for a different person in the future. And if you don't believe me, that's totally fine. Trust in the work of Dr. Maltz, though. He is the guy who has given us all the gold here. So, self-image, as we've just laid out, is the golden key to living a better life for two reasons, as he proposes. Reason number one is all of our actions, feelings, behaviors, even our abilities are always consistent with this blueprint. You will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. You cannot act outside otherwise in spite of this conscious effort. Meaning, even if you fake it till you make it, quote unquote, you'll always know at the end of the day, and your operating system will know who you believe you are. Therefore, with that, it won't let you go into different area changes unless you make the deepest change of the self-image. This is good stuff. The self-image is a premise, it is a base, it is a foundation upon which your entire personality, your behavior, and even your circumstances are built. This is everything. And the reason why I stress on the past experiences so much is because that is the evidence of who we think we are in today's self-image. That can all change if we do different behaviors, actions, and beliefs with reconstructing a new self-image. That's where the work comes in. So, circling back, because of this, our experiences seem to verify, thereby strengthening our self-image, and a vicious or beneficial cycle are set up. And he says vicious or beneficial because if you're using this to build yourself and your self-image, it's great. If you're tearing yourself down and have negative beliefs and failure beliefs, then it's going to be even harder on that self-image at the end of the day. So, knowing this, we will look for proof or evidence to be sure our self-image is correct and in line. Second, this is the other. So that was the first, right? That was a very lengthy definition of the first reason. This is the second reason. So, number two, self-image can be changed. I'm going to say that one more time because he's saying it. I'm just proposing it to you with a little bit of drama in it, like I like to do. Self-image can be changed. And then another iteration of from the earlier video, positive thinking cannot be used to a patch or crutch of the old self. So we can't think positively out of this, is what he's saying, is that we need to understand what our blueprint is, what has bought into the blueprint, how the quality of it is today, and then what we can do to change that moving forward. So quick recap. The reason self-image is the key is for two. First off, it's everything that we believe, we act, we feel, we think, our abilities, everything. Number two is that it can change. So let's continue. Self-image, the real secret. I'm really bringing forth like an audible read to this one, which is kind of fun. The discovery of self-image explains everything that had been missing from his work as a plastic surgeon. It is the common denominator, the determining factor in all of this case histories, the failures as well as successes. So if you quickly recall that there were times where people would get plastic surgery and they would succeed and they would go on to do incredible things. Then there were others that would go through the same thing and they would stay stuck with who they are. And he was always wondering why that is. And so this is a little bit into why he thinks that. The secret to really living, that is to find a life reasonably satisfying, you must have an adequate and realistic self-image that you can live with. You must find yourself acceptable to you. You must have a wholesome self-esteem. You must have a self that you can believe and trust in. You must have a self that you are not ashamed to be, one that can feel free to express creatively rather than hide and cover up. So quick pause. I'm going to hammer this one more time because this is like the absolute fastball, slam dunk, touchdown to this whole chapter here. So here's the work, right? If we want to live a reasonably satisfying life, we must have an adequate and realistic self-image that we can live with. So the first piece is realistic, meaning it is authentic to who you are. Number two, you must find yourself acceptable Guys, that's so powerful to just accept yourself. Have you even done that? Have you even accepted who you are and who you want to be in life? Because if you haven't even done that, this is the work. This is the work that we need to work into. Because if you don't do this, you cannot essentially live that life that you find reasonably satisfying or enhance it anyway. You must have wholesome self-esteem. You must have a self that you can trust and believe in. You must have a self that you're not ashamed to be. Another big one, ashamed. Are you ashamed of yourself? Are you ashamed of your actions? Are you ashamed of your beliefs? Are you ashamed of how you feel about yourself? These are powerful concepts that I encourage you to take a little bit of time to say, not only should you accept yourself for you are, everyone's a beautiful human being, and the human being in its entirety is beauty. So just know that you matter and that you exist. But also, are you ashamed? Are you hard on yourself? Do you reject who you really are? This might be why it's so hard for you to move into the world with confidence, because all of these things are the ingredients to, again, the cake that is the self-image. And so if you are not on board with this, you're not going to be feeling good when you go out into the world because you're conflicting yourself. Furthermore, when you do accept these things and you're not ashamed and you're proud of yourself, you can then feel free to creatively express who you are rather than hide. You must have a self that corresponds to reality so that you can function effectively in the world. You must know yourself, both your strengths and your weakness. Be honest with yourself concerning both. Your self-image must be reasonable approximation of you being neither more or less than you are. When this self-image is intact and secure, you will feel good, and when it is broken, you will feel insecure. When your self-image is really put together and it's wholesome, you are self-confident. You have to be by default because you know yourself. You're analyzing yourself. You know every detail of yourself. And so therefore, if you know all of that, you know where to apply your energy, or can at least begin the journey of knowing where to apply your energy and your efforts in your career and your friends and your family and all of that good stuff. You feel free to be yourself and express yourself. You function at your optimum. Man, we could have done a video just on this thing right here. So, quick recap. We have covered the introduction to self-image, the key to a better life, and we just really hammered on the real secret, okay? The real secret to all of it. So, we'll have other things here, but I want us to kind of take a step back and take a deep breath a little bit to unpack this. So, if you have gone and tried to sweep through and filter everything in your life that is your experience, there will be good, there will be bad, okay? This will constitute all the things we just talked about if you feel insecure, if you feel secure, if you feel good about yourself, and if your identity is attached in some events that have happened. With all that being said, the main focus he's trying to hammer in on is do the work to have a realistic and present version of who you are in your self-image. Now, the reason he's proposing it in that manner is because we can't just go on a video game and create this incredible version of who we are that has no weaknesses, right? Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Everyone has certain things they're good at and they're bad at. Our job is to just self-discover those things so then we have a clear picture of who we are today. And the reason that's critical is if we don't ever know who we are today, we can't ever go out and get better because we'll not know where to get better. We won't know where to go. We don't know what areas to focus on. That is like the secondary part. So the first part of this evolution is the self-discovery. And it may sting a little bit, and that's okay. But the most important piece is to have that like total authentic write-up of ourselves to then have the foundation of the clay that we need to go out and become the person that we want to become. I want you to hear the excitement in my voice, even if there's things that you're super, super insecure about. And the reason for that is, A, we only have one motherfucking life to live. And so we got to make use of what we have right now. 2, you were created in the image of the version of who you were supposed to be. Everything that you need is already inside of you. It's just going through the work of discovering this self and then placing that self in the proper environment to flourish. And lastly, I'm doing this myself. And so I want to prove through my action and through this kind of stuff that you can do this if I'm doing it. I'm a human. I'm just a normal human being as anyone would be. But I'm willing to put in the work to go through some of these things for you. So then that way you have a reading partner, accountability partner, whatever it is, to take you on that and to succeed. So that was definitely a tangent, and I apologize, but I feel like I really needed to drive that home in this chapter 1 video. So let's get back to it. The mystery of imaginary ugliness. To someone who is handicapped in some way physically, plastic surgery can work magic, and it can make improvements towards their existing condition. Along this line of thinking, if someone did not have a physical defect, they should be whole, in essence, and not in need of plastic surgery, right? Singling out that most of the time plastic surgery is essentially for the physical. Plastic surgery is not the answer for someone to cure a purely imaginary ugliness. And this is so good. And I say this as he said it, because this is that battle of the mind in our self-image. And if we feel broken, we're going to think we can purely imagine that we're going to be broken forever if we don't change the self-image. Our imaginary ugliness is our own incorrect, not right, perception that we are flawed in some way, which may or may not even be true. This is all psychological. And the way to frame this is, let's say in high school you were bullied and they always told you you were fat, or they always told you you were 4 eyes or braces or whatever it is. Over time, you psychologically believe that that is the true reality, when in reality, that's not true at all. It's just an unfortunate event and circumstance that other people are trying to pose on you to make themselves feel good. So we really got to shake the tree on what is actually true. And that's why that work needs to come in, because if you're suffering from a psychological illness, in this essence, it's saying that's all an imaginary ugliness that you're just believing to be true versus what actually is reality. Some people react just as if they suffered from an actual disfigurement versus not. They feel the shame and they feel the same even after surgery. Their capacity to really live life fully is blocked or choked by the same sort of psychological roadblocks. Their scars, though mental and emotional rather than physical, are debilitating. So if we were to just pause right now, taking the last 2 portions of this video, I would say pause it, go back and listen to it a handful of times. And I mean the self-image, the real secret, and then also this mystery of imaginary ugliness. Those 2 concepts with their complexities are enough to really sit with, study with, write out, try to figure out. Because as much as we've had physical defects in our life, most of this work is mental and psychological and emotional. That means that all of that can be healed, and that most of it is just our own perception of how things played out versus permanent. And I share that as an encouraging thing, because if they are believed to be one way, they can believe to be another way. All right. Now that so I don't suck up most of your time throughout the rest of this video for today's usage, I'm going to take a drink quick. Okay. So now we're going to pause on that, and we're going into a very different part of the conversation. But I do think that's important because, remember, the author is a plastic surgeon, so he has seen this firsthand. This is why he wrote this book, okay? This is why. Now, we're going to also get into some complex stuff here, so just bear with me and we'll work through it. So this is the new scientific insights on the subconscious mind. Remember, 1960s this was written. There's a lot of good data on this, but also the new school stuff says like this is very legit. So Google subconscious mind if you really want to dive into it. So we have 2 minds, okay? Whether we're aware of this or not, one is conscious, which is our present moment active mind, which we're doing right now, and the other is a subconscious mind. Think of it as kind of like a net that just catches information. This mind is more so a net and a processing system for all inputted information from our external and internal environment. This subconscious mind isn't an active brain per se, but it acts as a mechanism, a goal-striving servo mechanism that is in our brain and nervous system. This mechanism can be used by and directed by us if we so choose, or it does have a default mode and it simply exists as it is. So if you watch this video and you don't do anything at all, and you go out in the world, your servo mechanism of your subconscious mind is going to work no matter what. I'm just attempting to bring this to light to you so we can learn about the effectiveness of this, and I also can do this like personally. So one more time, really quick, just to round these things out. Two minds. First one's conscious. It's what's active and what's present. Also, the second one is the subconscious. The subconscious is more of a processing system for information, internal, external. And then furthermore, it acts as a goal-striving servo mechanism that is our brain and our nervous system. It can be, meaning we're in control of this, used by us and directed by us if we so choose. Furthermore, and you're wondering, how do I do that, Nick? We'll get into it. I'm excited. This creative mechanism within you is impersonal, meaning it is not influenced by or involving your personal feelings. It acts regardless of how we feel. That's important. I was just touching on this. It will work automatically and impersonally to achieve the goals of success, happiness, or unhappiness and failure, depending on what you set in front of it. So, the reason this is important is because it's always on and it's always working. We have it, we now know it. Furthermore, it doesn't matter what you feed it, it absorbs what you feed it. So those are the three tenets of this back half piece here. It does have a default mode regardless, aka it's always on, it's always working whether we like it or not. Present it with success goals and it functions as success. Present it with negative goals and it operates impersonally and just as faithfully. Excuse me. Okay, here's the how-to portion of this, and it'll kind of make sense of why I'm harping on goals a little bit here. Like any other servo mechanism, our creative mechanism must have a clear-cut goal, objective, or problem to work on to operate in our favor. The goals of our creative mechanism seeks to achieve our mental images or mental pictures, which are created by our imagination. The key to goal image is self-image. Our self-image prescribes the limits for our accomplishments of any particular goals. It prescribes the area of possible. So basically what I'm saying and what the author is saying is that because it's automatically on and because it works with us if we so choose, is that we need to give it information to work on for our benefit. Clear-cut goals, clear-cut objectives, or problems we're trying to solve. Okay? Our creative mechanism works on information and data we feed it through our thoughts, our beliefs, our interpretations, etc. Regardless if we feed it good or bad information, it is processed and acted on as any other data is giving us the answer in the form of the objective experience. Our creative mechanism makes use of stored information and memory in solving current problems and responding accordingly. So just again to kind of break this down, what we feed it, it acts on, whether good or for bad. However, the advantage here and the operational advantage is that we want to feed it good in order for it to help us conquer our goals, our problems, and our objectives. Learning about this creative mechanism is the first step. This is what we're doing in chapter 1. Applying it is the second step. It can be as easy as tying our shoe, as once that is learned experience for us. All we need is one good experience to work on and to catapult us into the new direction and the new application of our success mechanism. So this is tying in a little bit. This is saying, first off, we're aware of it. That is step number 1. We must be aware of it. The second thing that is talking to and about is that within this creative mechanism, we can apply it as easy as tying our shoes once was. Because again, we're just trying to give it the one success method that it needs. It doesn't care about failure. It will orient itself from failure. The one time it does succeed, it remembers it and it goes after that. And that is what we need to do. All right, we are rounding out here. So thank you for bearing with us. All right. This is another thing that is operating no matter what. All of us have goals, whether large or small, intentional or unintentional. It could be to start a company, or it could be to obtain sugary foods when we're hungry. Our operating system on default mode, We have our habits, and we have this servo mechanism working no matter what. We all have goals, large or small, intentional or unintentional, and it is used how we operate every single day. Our brain and nervous system are continually leading us in a direction of images we think about consciously, or images that are so much a part of us that they're leading us toward them on autopilot. That's what I was just referring to as autopilot mode. They're still operating. So the change from the self-image occurs as we change the self-image to then give this new information to change the trajectory. The drug addict and the entrepreneur both have goals. I think that's important. With this complex understanding, we become aware of what is under the hood of our operating system. Whew. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. Visualizing is the exercise that we are tasked with. That will be in later chapters. In chapter 1, we're just making ourselves aware of these important details. All right, we have a note from the author, and that will round us out. But before we do, let's hammer on this one more time. Okay? Self-image. Out over here, we have the operating systems. Okay, self-image is an accumulation. Operating system is how we are default wired. We are default wired to have a servo mechanism for good or for bad, and with that, it's using the information that we give it to either do good or to be on default mode in autopilot. Within that knowledge, it's always going to be going. It's automatic. So whether we like it or not, it's achieving something that we want it to achieve, whether we like it or not, which is why it might be such a strong pull of breaking bad habits and incorporating good habits. Self-image is going to be cleared up and changed as we work through this book. Then it will be given goals in different imaging structures, and then we're given that good information to it to have the adjustment for the change in our lives. Okay, fantastic. So a note from the author. Dr. Maltz stated that when people came to see him most of the time, they did not need surgery. This is a guy that was in it for 30 plus years, and he's telling us this directly. They did not need surgery most of the time. They needed to obtain a spiritual facelift. How to remove emotional scarring, how to change their attitude and their thoughts, as well as their physical appearance through this practice. As it was written a while ago, but for what it is worth, it is likely still true to this day. And this is a quote from him. Today, I am more convinced than ever that what each of us really wants deep down is more life. Happiness, success, peace of mind, or whatever your own conception of supreme good may be, experienced in its essence is simply more life. When we experience expansive emotions of happiness, self-confidence, success, and achievement, we enjoy more life. And to the degree that we inhibit our abilities, frustrate our God-given talents, and allow ourselves to suffer anxiety, fear, self-condemnation, and self-hate, we literally choke off the life force available to us to turn our backs on the gifts which our Creator has made. To the degree that we deny the gift of life, we embrace death. Man, so good. So, what he's saying here is we can experience all these incredible things if we fuel it and if we give it the energy that it needs. But we're also basically choking the life force available to us from the Creator through self-hate, self-harm, self-condemnation, anxiety, fear. That is the battle. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the battle. There is within each of us a life instinct which is forever working towards health, happiness, and all that makes life better. This life instinct works for you through what Dr. Maltz called the creative mechanism, and when used correctly, the success mechanism can be built in each human being. Thank you guys so much for reading and bearing with me in chapter 1. I can't remember if it's this way or this way to get into chapter 2. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. But all in all, guys, again, thank you so much. Let's keep reading, and I'm super excited. I hope you are too. Thanks.